Hello everyone and welcome to lesson 4 of Genki 3rd edition. In this chapter we're going to be covering a lot of good stuff and hopefully get me one step closer to finally getting to shave my beard. Here's a little overview of what we're going to be covering. So firstly, we have two different ways to say that something is. We have aru and iru, or arimasu and imasu, which are used for different things. And then we are going to be able to locate those things. We're going to talk about how to locate things in Japanese. And then we are finally going to take a look at the past tense, or at least the past tense of nouns and verbs. So we are finally going to be able to talk about what we did yesterday or last year or whatever. And then a little bit more about mo, the mo particle, before moving on to duration, how long something takes. Next up, we have quantity using just one word, takusan, meaning a lot. So there's going to be a lot of quantity. And then finally, we have the to particle, or at least two usages of the to particle. So starting with to be, we have aru and iru. Aru and iru basically mean the same thing. They both mean to be, but they are used for different things. So aru is used for non-living things or things that aren't moving, while iru is used for living things, or sometimes things that maybe aren't living but are moving, like a moving taxi or something like that. So an example of this would be testo ga arimasu. So there is a test, testo ga arimasu, or neko ga imasu. So the test is not living, it's not moving, so it's arimasu. And neko, the cat, is living, is moving, so it's imasu. And we can also see here what type of verbs these are. So aru is a verb like kaeru. So it becomes arimasu. The ru becomes a ri before adding the mas, while iru is a ru verb, so the ru simply disappears and is replaced with mas, so iru imasu. Testo ga arimasu, neko ga imasu. The negative is formed just like with other verbs of this type, so tomodachi ga imasen. So there is no friend, or I don't have a friend, which I will talk a little bit about later, because I don't have any friends. No, what I mean is that this doesn't simply mean that there isn't something, but it can also mean that you don't have something. So tomodachi ga imasen, there is no friend, while shashin ga arimasen means there is no photo. Shashin meaning photo, and arimasen being the negative form of arimasu or aru. We also need to be careful about this, because we've heard this arimasen before, right? We know hana ja arimasen. So hana means flower. Hana ja arimasen means this isn't a flower. And hana janai desu also means this isn't a flower. While hana ga arimasen means there is no flower. Or I don't have a flower. Hana ga arimasen, there is no flower. Hana ja arimasen, this isn't a flower, it's something else. A little bit more about aru. So as I've been hinting at, aru can also express that you have something. So pen ga arimasu means I have a pen. Or I could ask, pen ga arimasu ka? Do you have a pen? Pen ga arimasu ka? And the answer could be, ie arimasen. No, I don't. There's no pen. Or hai arimasu, or something like that. It also be used for events. So like a party. Party ga arimasu. There will be a party, or there is a party. Party ga arimasu, or matsuri ga arimasu, there is a festival. So arimasu can be used like that as well. And here we can sort of start to locate a little bit. So Nihon ni sakura ga arimasu. In Japan, I should probably use the pointer more than my hands. So Nihon ni sakura ga arimasu. So in Japan, Nihon ni sakura, so cherry blossom, sakura ga arimasu. So in Japan, there is cherry blossom. Daigaku ni ryugakusei ga imasu. Daigaku ni ryugakusei ga imasu. So in the university, there are exchange students. So daigaku ni ryugakusei ga imasu. So we can locate things by naming the place and then adding ni. Nihon ni daigaku ni, and then say what is. But just to confuse you a little bit, we also have this. So doyobi ni party ga arimasu. There is a party on Saturday here. So here is not marking the location, it's marking the time. But maybe if there is a party or an event being held somewhere, you can use de. So Osaka de omatsuri ga arimasu. So there's a festival going on in Osaka. Osaka de omatsuri ga arimasu. But now moving on to locating things some more. So ginko wa doko desu ka? We know this. Where is the bank? Ginko wa doko desu ka? Ginko wa koko desu. The bank is here. Ginko wa soko desu. It's next to the person I'm talking to. Ginko wa asoko desu. It's somewhere in the distance. We already know this. But now we have this as well. So X wa Y no ue desu. So whatever word we place there, ue meaning above, shita meaning below, mae meaning in front, ushiro meaning behind, naka meaning inside, migi meaning right, hidari meaning left, chikaku meaning close to, and tonari meaning next to, will locate the thing in the sentence. So X wa Y no ue desu means that X is above Y. But let's take a little bit of a closer look at this. So inu wa tsukue no shita desu. So inu wa the dog, inu wa tsukue the table, the desk, no shita desu. Tsukue no shita is below the desk. So inu wa tsukue no shita desu means the dog is below the desk or the table. Meanwhile, kokuritsu toshokan wa daigaku no chikaku desu. So the national kokuritsu toshokan, so the national library, wa daigaku no chikaku desu, is close to the university. And here we have something, an action going on inside the konbini no naka de hanashimasu. So here you are speaking inside the konbini, and then you use de. Next we have in between. So you can imagine when we have in between, the thing must be in between something. So we can do this with X wa Y to si or said no aida desu. So, for example, byouin wa otera to konbini no aida desu. So the hospital, byouin wa otera to konbini no aida desu. So it's in between the temple and the convenience store. Here's a little example dialogue. So, すいません、コンビニはどこですか? So, excuse me, where is the convenience store? コンビニはどこですか? 大学の前にホテルがありますね。So, there is a hotel in front of the university, right? そうですね。So, that's right. ホテルの右にコンビニがあります。So, to the right of the hotel, there's a convenience store. ありがとうございます. And thank you. Yes, and now we can go to the convenience store and get some cheap onigiri or whatever. Maybe some chicken. So, moving on to the past tense, it looks a little bit like this. So, we know the present tense, the present affirmative is des for nouns, and janai des or ja arimasen in the negative. But in the past affirmative, it's deshita. So, we could say, 先月は忙しい月でした. So last month was a busy month. And here I am sneaking in an adjective, even though they won't appear until lesson 5. Or at least we won't learn how to properly use them until lesson 5. So, 忙しい月 meaning busy month, and then でした meaning was. 先月は忙しい月でした. And then we have じゃなかったです. じゃなかったです. And here the past is actually being emphasized by katta, not des. So it's incorrect to say じゃなかったでした. So des here is just to be formal, just to be sort of retain this polite paradigm of Japanese. So for example, in 本物のわさびじゃなかったです. That wasn't real wasabi. 本物 means real. 本物のわさびじゃなかったです. That wasn't real wasabi. And then we have the past tense of verbs. We already know that the present affirmative, at least in the mass form, is mas, and then the negative is masen. But the past affirmative would be mashita. So, 月曜日に田中さんに会いました. 会いました. So, 会う means to meet. and aimasu will meet. But then we have the past aimashita. And just be careful that this particular verb takes ni, so it's not o. So it's ni aimashita. Tanaka-san ni aimashita. I met Tanaka. And then we have the negative, which is masen deshita. And here we have deshita, because we don't have katta. So masen deshita. Here deshita is symbolizing or pointing out the past. So, 今日テニスをしませんでした. I didn't play tennis today. 今日テニスをしませんでした. I didn't play tennis today. And actually, if I'm being honest with you, I didn't play tennis yesterday either. It's been a long time since I played tennis. So, just a little bit about the colloquial past tense of verbs, which we will learn a little bit later in lesson 9. So we have learned now, 昨日寿司を食べませんでした. I didn't eat sushi yesterday, but we could just as well say that with 昨日寿司を食べなかったです. And here you see we have かった, so we don't need でした. So 食べなかったです. And this is probably a more common way of phrasing this rather than ませんでした, which is a bit stiffer, it's a bit more formal. So this is more common. So moving on to more, a little bit more about more. We have already learned how to replace more with the particle wa, the wa particle, the topic particle. So, 私は日本に So, 私は日本に行きました. 私は日本に行きました. I went to Japan. If we want to say that someone else also went to Japan, we can say 田中さんも日本に行きました. So this wa particle is replaced with も. 田中さんも日本に行きました. Simple enough. So we can also replace お, the o particle, with も. For example, as in 田中さんはバナナを買いました. So 田中さん bought bananas. リンゴも買いました. He also bought apples. So instead of saying リンゴを買いました, again we can say リンゴも買いました. He also bought apples. Ringo star. If you want a way to remember the words for apple.
Ringo star.
No! リンゴスターリンゴの実たっぷり美味しくなった宝すりおろしリンゴ新発売
Ringo star.
However, if we are adding more to de and ni, if we are replacing de and ni with more, we actually have to add it to it. Or add it to those particles. So, Nagisa-san は中国に行きました. So, Nagisa went to China. Nagisa-san は中国に行きました. 韓国にも行きました. So, she also went to Korea. 韓国にも行きました. And here we are adding more to に韓国にも行きました。中国で写真を撮りました。So here we have で So at this place she did something. 中国で写真を撮りました。韓国でも撮りました。And she also did it in Korea. She took pictures in China. 中国で写真を撮りました。韓国でも撮りました。She also took photos in Korea. And they were hopefully amazing. I've never been to Korea. I really want to go someday. So, just to summarize this a little bit, wa, ga, and o are simply replaced with more, while ni and de have more added to them. So just remember that. Moving on to duration in hours, or duration, I added minutes as well. So, 1時間 means 1 hour. You already know 1時 meaning 1 o'clock, but if we add this 間, it becomes 1 hour. 1時間 and we can say something like 2時間くらい. So about 2 hours. So we have this くらい, which comes after the 間. So 2時間くらい. And if it's a half an hour as well, that also comes after the 間. So 3時間半. So 3.5 hours. And then when we have minutes, it's just 20分. So if it's 20 minutes, 20分. 10分 if it's 10 minutes. And if it's 1 hour and 20 minutes, it would be 1時間20分. Right? And we can use it like this, and it doesn't take a particle. So, 駅で田中さんを1時間待ちました. I waited for Tanaka-san at the station. 駅で at the station 田中さんを1時間待ちました. I waited for Tanaka-san at the station for 1 hour. Or I could say 駅で田中さんを1時間半ぐらい待ちました. I waited for Tanaka-san at the station for about 1.5 hours, which is a lot of time. But moving on to quantity, or this word takusan, meaning a lot. We're not going to say a lot about it, but here's an example sentence. So, Hokkaido de, so at Hokkaido, the island to the north, Hokkaido de shashin o takusan torimashita would mean I took a lot of photos in Hokkaido. But I can also say Hokkaido de takusan shashin o torimashita. So the location of takusan can vary. So shashin o takusan torimashita means the same as takusan shashin o torimashita. Just depends on your preference, really. And another example sentence of this would be tsukue ga takusan arimasu. So there are a lot of desks, maybe in a classroom. And then we can just as well say takusan tsukue ga arimasu, meaning the exact same thing. There are a lot of desks or tables in the classroom. If we say kyoshitsu ni, if we're going to locate it, kyoshitsu means classroom. So moving on to the to particle. The to particle, as we are learning it now, can mean two things. The first is and, so just simply this and that. And then it can mean together with, and then it's a sort of shorter version of to ishoni. And when it's that version of to, you can always lengthen it if you want to ishoni. And this can be, for example, if we take a look at this. So, 日本語と英語を話します. So that's the yellow one. And 日本語と英語を話します. To speak Japanese and English. While this to means together with. So, 渡辺さんと日本語を話します. I speak Japanese with 渡辺さん. And I could lengthen this to 渡辺さんと一緒に日本語を話します. And that's all we're going to be covering today when it comes to the grammar of lesson 4. But just to end with a little bit of a question. So, 毎日何時間日本語を勉強しますか? What does that mean? So, 毎日, every day, 何時間. So it's a question form of how many hours. 時間, so 何時間, how many hours. 日本語, Japanese, を勉強しますか? How many hours a day do you study Japanese? Can you answer this question? Do you study Japanese enough to answer this question? We'll see. I'm looking forward to your comments. But while you are thinking about how to respond, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and press that like button. That's something that people say, right? Press the like button. See you in lesson 5, where I will be wearing the exact same shirt because I'm recording it straight away.